becoming a skeptic to a certain extent. I mean, I don't label myself as a skeptic and say, "Oh, I'm a skeptic. I'm a skeptic. I'm a skeptic. That's my job. I'm a skeptic." Because I think being a skeptic is like being a theist, and it's like being an atheist, and it's like being anything else. Those things don't define what I am. I'm not defined by any word or letter. I think what I am, I'm gonna be a little bit new age sounding. The very thing I'm very skeptical about. You know, but labels don't define me. My thing about being skeptical is this, though. Is that people make claims, and you can see my shadow, me and my shadow. Anyway, you can tell I'm holding up my thing. But, let me move this so the shadow isn't right there. Anyway, the thing about being skeptical is this. Is that I question things. I look at things. I'm sitting there listening to Wayne Dyer. And now Wayne Dyer is somebody who is interesting to me because I first started reading his books back in 1977. And I followed the stuff he said, and it actually helped me. So I can't deny that the things that Wayne Dyer said were actually helpful to me. I mean, that's a fact I know for a fact. Now, when he makes certain claims about things, some things I can question. Because I don't know. I mean, I don't have any evidence or anything about whether, certain things he says. And some things he says are way off on some strange tangent. But I cannot deny the fact that if somebody, it's just like if somebody gave you a recipe for something. I'm just going to put it this way, because if somebody gave you a recipe for how to make a certain type of food and you put it together and you did it and it was successful and it worked, you can't deny that fact. But if they made other claims about it, like certain health claims or what it could do or whatever, those other things you might question. So my skepticism is kind of funny. It's not like most people when they say skeptical, at least the way I think when most people say skeptic, they don't really mean skeptic. They mean total rejection of something, and that's not what I mean. I mean, I question things. I mean, I don't just take everything. Yes, to a certain extent, there's a kind of picking and choosing, but it's not just random picking and choosing. I pick things according to what fits into what has been verified by actual experience and evidence and what I've been able to verify for myself. You try something, and if it works, then, yeah, it has validity. If you try something and it doesn't work, then, it's not valid. And some of the things he said, I've applied them, and they work. And some things I can't even think of how to apply it. Like when you start talking about certain things. Or like, how do you align with your source? What does that mean? I don't even know what that means. What does it mean to align with your source? What is the source? I understand that's supposed to be God, the source of all things. I mean, that even makes a logical kind of sense. God is the source of all life. If he created the universe, then he's the source of everything. But how do you align with it if you don't know what God is exactly? It's not like if I were going to align with, let's say, a dance instructor, they teach me how to make a certain move, I could observe it and then imitate it. Well, how do I observe God and then imitate God? I mean, somebody's got to show me that. How do you do that? But yet people say that, and everybody at a seminar would nod their head. Oh, yeah, that's right, that's true. Let me say this about Wayne Dyer. I actually attended one of his seminars. I met him. I shook hands with him. I even talked with him. I mean, so it's not like Wayne Dyer, I've been connected with him in some form of way in my life for about, 30 some odd years, almost 40 years. Even up to and including the point of actually meeting him. The thing is that it's just a lot of stuff that he says that I'm questioning, especially his connection with John of God. I think he kind of lost me there. When he connected with this guy, John of God, it's like, okay. Because, and then he starts talking about this magic surgery and then I start, and being a skeptic in this sense of skeptic, because my skepticism is a temporary thing. It's not, so again, I don't define myself as a skeptic, but I apply skepticism of questioning things. Because I think the skepticism I have is kind of like David Hume type skepticism. Really asking questions about what is the case. How do you know? Is it real? Is it true? You know, I mean, somebody could make a fantastic claim, and the fantastic claim might actually be true. You know, I mean, things that we have in our modern days. If you could go back 100 years, you explain to everybody 100 years ago all the things that exist now, they would think you were crazy. Yet we know for a fact these things are true because we see them every day. If you could go back 150 years or 200 years and you try to explain to someone about electricity, electric lights, you explain to them about radios and TVs and internet and stuff, they would think you were completely nuts. But yet this is real. So fantastic things can be real. Just because it sounds fantastic doesn't mean it's not real. You know, maybe people really are magically healing people. But I question it and I look at it and I examine it and see, is there any real evidence to it? I mean, when I am skeptical, it's like inquiring into to actually find out, not just forming an idea of how can I, embarrass these people and pwn these people. See, to me, I think that my skeptical attitude is a little bit different. I'm skeptical of some of the things Wayne Dyer says. Some things I accept because I've actually tried and it worked. Some things don't. The thing he did with the applied kinesiology thing with the, that if you look it up, because I'm not even going to explain it, that when he was demonstrating how your thoughts, negative thoughts make you weak and positive thoughts make you strong. Well, at first I kind of thought, that seems plausible. But then I began to look at it and close and realize that a lot of these tricks, things he was showing, were basically tricks. There was nothing more than just like what you can call parlor tricks. They were just things people do to try to show you that something. And it's not science. It's just trickery. And I'm thinking, why would he dabble in trickery like that? I mean, some of the things he did actually worked. I know for a fact stuff worked. Why would you dabble in things that just are so like that? If you got good ideals, let those ideals stand. Don't you have enough faith in your own ideals? Don't you have enough faith in your own methods or things that you're talking about to just let them stand instead of resorting to trickery? I mean, that's the thing that kind of gets me. It bothers me sometimes. I want to believe that this guy can be honest and tell the truth and be straight about things. But then, things about Deepak Chopra. Okay, Deepak Chopra is a whole different ball of wax. I never met him before. But I've read some of his things that I've listened to tapes of him talk about stuff. I've seen him on videos on YouTube. And some of the things he says, I think that there's some truth to some things he says, but then there are other things which even he don't understand. He says things even he doesn't understand what this stuff is. But he's more than happy to talk about it. All this quantum physics things. And I've actually looked into this stuff. I really have. I've studied it and learned. And the more I get into it, the more I begin to realize it's all very suspect, really. But again, I keep an open mind. Open-minded doesn't mean accepting. It just means open to looking at it, investigating, seeing is there any validity to it. And the more I investigate, the more I discover that there's less and less validity. It's just people using the talk of science. They use the words of quantum physics. They use ideals and they take them out of context to try to explain something. Like I said, I still like Wayne Dyer. I read some of his older books. But the more further up the road, when he starts getting into the things of talking about these orbs and stuff. And there's other book I haven't even got into yet. And all these really weird experiences and stuff. It's like, okay. I mean, I'm open-minded, but not that open-minded. I'm sorry. Maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know.